Happy Talk on Calon FM. I've got guests today in the studio, Sue Baird and Sue Kinnear. We're going to be talking to those about getting through Christmas, because, you know, we have to think about these things, don't we?
Christmas really is only one day, and if you allow those celebrations to spread too far, it can have dramatic consequences for your waistline. So we've put together a few tips for everybody to help us enjoy the festive season, but also to keep an eye on all of those good reasons to stay healthy. So Sue and I are just going to go through a few of those. Obviously we're certainly not we're not a bar humbug sort of approach, because I enjoy a glass of wine and Christmas as much as everybody else. But if you think yourself through, make a few sort of planning choices, you can end up having a wonderful time, but not feeling sluggish and tired and a little bit overindulged when it comes round to January, and then thinking, feeling that it's a real struggle to get yourself back on track.
What we're suggesting, we've got a series of tips which we'll go through with you, is pacing yourself, in a more organised fashion, as Sue was saying.
I will say I have brought mince pies for everybody, which nobody has touched yet. I will get them. As soon as they come into the shops, that's what I like to do. As soon as I see a mince pie.
What I found this year have been really useful. I don't know which shops will do them, but certainly where I shop, they've been having boxes of mini mince pies.
Yeah.
And I think a smaller mince pie, it's probably about half the size of a typical one. And I think that's perfect because it's enough to really enjoy it, but not to sort of feel the guilt afterwards. So I think if you can get your hands on some mini mince pies, that might be a solution.
I know you brought some tips with you, so let's crack on. What do you suggest?
Okay, well, I think my top tip for everybody is to really focus on staying hydrated. I think, if there's one thing that's going to help you feel and look your best over Christmas, it is making sure that you're drinking plenty of water, keeping hydrated. Because even mild dehydration can lead to headaches and sluggishness and tiredness. And if you've got alcohol-induced dehydration, which is, it's one of those things at Christmas tends to happen, that can make you feel an awful lot worse. So making sure you're drinking plenty of water before, during and after your Christmas event, so always making sure you've got water on hand, maybe carry a small bottle of water round with you, and just make sure that if you are having a night out, then alternate your alcoholic drinks with some non-alcoholic drinks. It'll probably keep the price down of your evening if you're not buying the alcohol, and it'll certainly make you feel an awful lot better the following morning.
Is it a good tip still to have a pint of water before bed?
Absolutely, yes. Before bed, and to have a glass with you by the side of your bed as well, because there's nothing worse than waking up in the middle of the night and feeling really, really dehydrated and
like
having to get out of bed. yeah. So a drink, obviously, before you go to bed, a drink by your bed, and then first thing in the morning, every day I always try and start my morning with a glass of water, because even if you haven't had a festive evening the night before, our bodies are most dehydrated in the morning, so that first glass of water in the morning is really going to set you up for a better day.
One of the other things about water is that in our brains, the trigger between both hunger and thirst are very, very similar. So a lot of the time when we actually think we're hungry, we're thirsty. So having a glass of water and making sure that you're properly dehydrated can also stop you from overeating at this time of year, because you won't necessarily believe you're as hungry as you are if you're taking the water first.
I always heard that if you feel hungry, you should have a glass of water first.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yes.
And because a lot of the time, hunger is actually thirst.
Yes,
yeah.
that's correct, definitely. And I'd also say when you're eating a meal, is also to have a glass of water on hand. I use that as a trigger to remind me to get those glasses of water in. So every time I sit down and have a meal, I'll make sure I've got a glass of water alongside that meal as well.
I did hear somebody say once that they actually set their little alarm on their phone to go off. I think it was every 2 hours, and to have a glass of water.
Fantastic idea.
Yeah,
fantastic
water was that
idea.
important.
Yeah.
So
8 glasses a day.
It seems like a lot, doesn't it? But it's not really, not over the course of a day.
No.
Well, it depends, of course, what you're doing as well. I mean, if you're out and about exercising, you may need more than that. If you're working in an air-conditioned office, if you're jetting off to somewhere warm over the Christmas period, then airlines they really dehydrate you. That's recirculating air, so make sure you get plenty of fluids on board on your flights as well.
But yeah, it's one of those things that it can be tricky to get those 8 glasses of water in, but once you start building up the habit and getting into a routine of drinking that water, then it just becomes second nature.
I'm still in the studio with Sue, and you chose that song as well, didn't you?
We did, yes. Sue and I run a nutrition and fitness company jointly. We retail a product line called Herbalife, and we also run our exercise classes through a company called NuFitU. And that's one of the tracks that we use in our exercise classes. It's inspirational, obviously foot tapping, and really easy to listen to, really easy to move to. So that's why I chose that, and we use that quite a lot. Which brings us on to, or back to, our tips for Christmas really, and why we're here. We'll talk a little bit about Herbalife later on when we talk about how important breakfast is and what kind of protein-based breakfast you need to have. I'll pass over to Sue for that one in a moment or two. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and one of the reasons I chose that song as well, is how important exercise is at this time of year. If you can get out and about, if you can get out into the fresh air, even if you can't do your normal gym routine, even if there isn't time because of the socialising and the other demands of the period, again, it'll make you feel better, it'll use up some of those excess calories, it'll just make you feel more alive and more awake, and it's a really important part of maintaining your overall health. So even if you end up skipping your normal routine, do try and do something, even if it's a reduced amount, before you can get back to what your normal routine would be.
I mean, I would say probably a couple of those sessions, if you can focus on getting out of breath. Because it's good to move, but you actually really want to be looking at giving your heart and lungs a bit of work to do. If you're a trained athlete, then okay, you do want to push yourself to the absolute sort of limits, but making sure that your heart rate rises, so that you're giving your heart something to do out of the ordinary, and that you're getting out of breath, so that your lungs are also pumping and giving your whole body a good clear out, a good cleanse of flushing through via the exercise.
Well, the more you do it, the easier it gets as well.
Absolutely, it is.
It's
one
about
of those
building
things.
that stamina,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes. Your heart is a muscle, so as with every other muscle, the more you give it to do, the healthier it's going to be.
We have a Christmas tradition of our own, which might help you as well. I mean, I wouldn't be able to eat all that lot, and actually I eat my Christmas dinner too. If I'd had all that for breakfast, I wouldn't have any room left. So one of the things that we do is, we'll put the turkey on, or in our house it's normally my husband that puts the turkey on because he's much better at cooking than I am. And then we go for a walk. So one of our kind of Christmas traditions is our Christmas Day walk. So we often go to a beach somewhere in North Wales or up on the Wirral coast, and we'll go for a walk while dinner's cooking.
The key things, if you're looking, well, what should I have for breakfast? Well, it's a very, very good question, because a lot of things that are marketed at breakfast time are not particularly healthy. And there's been a lot in the press recently about the sugar content of a lot of breakfast cereals. And although I think the cereal industry are taking steps to address that, which is fantastic news, there are a lot of good information which suggests that getting protein in at breakfast time is really helpful to help maintain your blood sugar levels, reduce your appetite later in the day. And one thing that I've done and Susie's done recently, well, for the last 5 years, I've used a shake in the morning. I use a Herbalife branded shake. I've lost about 10 pounds of body fat and maintained it, and that is the key. It's maintaining the habit, maintaining a healthy body composition, and this balanced protein-rich shake has helped me to do that. But there are other alternatives. Obviously, if you know, eggs are a great breakfast food. So a scrambled egg or a poached egg on wholemeal toast is a good way to start the day. It doesn't give you the breadth of nutrition that you would get in a scientifically put together shake as like a Herbalife one, but that protein content in the eggs is good. And for me, for this Christmas, I will probably be having something like scrambled egg and smoked salmon as a real treat on Christmas Day. So I'm looking forward to that.
I do look forward to it, and I do look forward to the sort of food that you wouldn't buy any other time of the year, because it's a bit of a running joke, isn't it, that you have loads of food in your fridge and you're not allowed to eat it because it's all for Christmas.
And obviously there's sort of ways that you have to get rid of the massive turkey that you've got left. I mean, who hasn't had a turkey full of on numerous times between Christmas and
turkey
New Year's?
soup, turkey curry.
That's why we've got the neighbours around. They don't want to eat it anymore. So yes, but there are some steps that you can take to try and, again, not end up piling on £7, £9 during that 1 week, because it's amazing how quickly it comes on. First of all, make sure you have breakfast. So make sure you are having a protein-filled, maybe a shake breakfast, maybe sardines, something like that. Something that's protein-based that's going to help your blood sugar across the length of the day. There are all sorts of things you can do. Go for a brightly coloured vegetable rather than carb base, for what you're putting on your own plate. And once you've finished what's on your plate, go and put your plate in the kitchen. Don't keep bringing it back. So as soon as you get rid of it, then that's it. You've had your buffet for that one day. And if you're not having all of those cheese quiches and all the rest of it, you're not constantly putting your body under more and more strain during that period.
One tip I would say, so that you're not eating leftovers for weeks and weeks after Christmas, which can sometimes happen, is to actually this year perhaps take a little bit more time over your Christmas shopping list. There are a set number of people in the country, and we all eat approximately the same amount of food every day. So whether you're at home or you're visiting friends, the actual total amount of food shouldn't be vastly more than we would normally be eating. It might be different types of food, sure, because it's Christmas, but the total volume should be pretty similar. If you've got a well-structured list before you go, you'll end up actually with much less food left over. So you're either going to be throwing away less, or you're going to be eating less afterwards, just because you don't want the waste. And of course, if you've got that structured list, then you're probably going to be saving yourself some money as well, because you're only going to be buying what you're going to be usefully eating rather than what I'd call wastefully.
You can internet shop as well. That's one thing you can do, because if you're not walking past treats to put in your trolley, you're just literally getting what you need on the internet. You're less likely to be putting those excess things in your trolley that you don't really need. So you might find that your total shopping bill comes in a little bit less than you might have otherwise have thought.
And that was your choice, Susie. Why did you choose that one?
For me, that song is about having clarity of vision, adopting a particular mindset, a strong mindset, and not allowing other people to derail your good intentions, which is even more of an issue at this time of year than others.
Absolutely. I think it's so important if you are on a journey towards better health. Really, you've got to try and avoid other people derailing you. And Susie is a fantastic example of this. I mean, I started working with Susie over a year ago now. And, with the best will in the world, friends, if they're not on the same journey as you, then they will be tempting you, just have another drink, just have another mince pie.
And it's too easy for people who aren't maybe at the same state of awareness as you, or maybe on the same journey, or don't possibly have the same goals as you, to view you quite negatively. If you are achieving perhaps and they're not.